Thanks for visiting us today. For the health and safety of everyone, face coverings must fully cover your nose and mouth and be worn at all times, including when taking photographs.
In myself at home, I am simply I am here to welcome you to the Hartman Wildlife Reserve, one of the largest and most beautiful animal parks you will visit. Our mission is to conserve and protect this small part of the great savannah of Africa. Today, Kilimanjaro Safari will take you on a journey into the heart of the reserve to see
I don't think you're doing the right thing.
Sentados, mantengan las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del vehículo. Y cuiden a sus niños. Kilimanjaro Safari.
Asante Sana word, and as we say here in Harambe, twin day, it means let's go. So, twin day, everybody. Jumbo folks, welcome aboard the Symbol 1. My name is Christine, and I'm going to be your driver today for our adventure to the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. While we are out on our journey, you must all remain seated at all times, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside of my truck. Face coverings must stay on as well, completely covering your nose, mouth, and chin all at the same time. And if you look up above your head, there's an animal spotting guide up here for you to utilize while we're out and about on the reserve. Now we are beginning our journey here into the Little Cherry Forest, and in forest environments, animals use light and dark browns as a form of natural camouflage, so keep those eyes open, as they do tend to be a bit more difficult for us to spot. On our right-hand side, there is an okapi snacking out of the tree over there. They have a very misleading stripe pattern, as a lot of people see those stripes and assume that they are somehow related to the zebra, but they are not. The nearest relation is actually to the giraffe, and we can tell because of their similar skull shapes, as well as their long prehensile tongues. Prehensile is a fancy word, it just means muscular, so those tongues will be used kind of like a hand to help them grab for the forage in the trees above. Sit down, please. I need you guys to be completely seated at all times, folks. There is no standing up at all. And once again, face coverings must be on properly, guys. They have to cover your nose, mouth, and chin all at the same time. At the top of the hill on our right-hand side, there is a saddle-billed stork up there. They've got beautiful black and white body, bright orange bill, and there's a little yellow patch at the base of the bill, kind of in the shape of a saddle, which is where they get their name from. Bongos at the top of the hill there on our left-hand side. They grow beautiful horns that twist and point backwards, helps them to navigate through and hide in the underbrush. And there's even some greater kudu on our left behind the other saddle-billed stork. The greater kudu do not grow any horns on the females, so those are all ladies. Now we are heading out of the forest and over to the Sahi River. Hopefully while we're over here we'll be able to spot some hippos, maybe even some crocodiles. But keep in mind, hippos can hold their breath for a very long time, so we are going to look very closely in the water for any big air bubbles popping up, as it could be a hippo hiding beneath. And there's actually a hippo grazing up on land there on our right-hand side, partly behind your right shoulder, to see just how absolutely massive they are. That's not because of their size, it is simply because of the shape of their feet, but they are unable to swim. Instead, they have to walk or run along the bottom of the riverbed. Now we see quite a few pink-backed pelicans on our left-hand side. Looks like they've already started to create their nests, which tells us that mating season is coming up pretty soon. During mating season, their pink skin starts to turn even more pink than it already is. So we're going to keep an eye open for that color change. We've also come up on some now crocodile there on our left-hand side. Now crocodiles will be 16 feet long. Sit down, please. Gotta be completely seated, my friends. Thank you. They can go up to be 16 feet long, which is almost as long as a giraffe is tall. And they are ectothermic, which means they don't sweat the same way we do. Instead, they do something called gaping, where they open their mouth really wide and take long and deep breaths through there. Now coming up here on our right hand side, there is a baobab tree. They are a very important part of savanna lifestyle, as they are filled with a squishy sponge-like texture. In row number 3 in the teal shirt, sir, please make sure that face covering is on properly. It's got to completely cover your nose. Now the reason that comes in handy is because that water in during drought season, when all the water sources have dried up, animals can dig into the baobab tree and use the water within it as their main source of hydration. It's also known though as the upside down tree, since they are leafless for about 9 months out of the year, making it look like they've been flipped upside down with their roots reaching for the skies. Now already we're seeing some Maasai giraffe there on our right hand side walking around. Maasais are pretty easy to identify because of their messy pattern. While Maasai and messy sound similar, Maasai is the name of the African tribe that lives in the same regions that these beautiful giraffe live in. And they're pretty easy to identify from their pattern. If you look closely, you'll notice that the lighter brown has a tendency to dip into the darker brown, and the darker brown circles do have a pretty jagged edge. At the very top of their heads do grow 2 things that are called ossicones. They are not called horns, because horns must grow to bone. Ossicones do not. They're soft, squishy, soft tissue. On our left-hand side, I do see there are some painted dogs over there. They're actually pretty close to us right now. And the painted dogs get their name from the painted pattern that's all over their coat. That pattern is individual to each and every dog, just like our fingerprints are individual to all of us. And they do look and act a lot like our dogs back home. After all, they are the same species. However, these dogs thrive as a pack, and they are some of the most successful pack hunters out in the wild. Antelope just staring at us there on our left-hand side. They are pretty interesting, actually. They are the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, and they've earned that honor because when it comes to a fight or flight situation, they are all fight, and we here on this reserve like to fight for conservation. Now on our left-hand side, those are some Patterson Zealand. They are the largest of the antelopes that live here on this reserve. They can be up to 6 feet tall at the shoulders and jump an extra 8 feet on top of that. Now the one further away from us right now, the one closer, is the female. We can identify that because of their horns. The male's horns are shorter and thicker, while the female's horns are longer and thinner. On top of that, she's pretty slender, and he is pretty big. That nice broad shoulder skull. There's also some zebra there on our right-hand side at the very top of that hill. These are Hartman's mountain zebra. We can tell because of their stripes and their dewlap. A dewlap is a floppy piece of skin that grows beneath their neck, and they are the only zebras in the world to grow one. Now we're getting a much closer look at that beautiful gentleman there on our left-hand side. We're getting a closer look at the zebra there on our right-hand side, as well as some of the white-footed wildebeest over there, who are the second most densely populated creatures in the world. Honeycomb-like structure, which the cattle use as a way to circulate their blood through their horns, cooling down their temperatures.
See them all?
Now a giraffe and giraffe on our left. There's even some baby giraffe up and on our right. Those babies are about 7 or 8 feet tall, so they do still have some growing to do. When they're newborn, they have to be at least 6 feet tall, otherwise they are unable to reach mom's udders for their milk. And that just sounds utterly disappointing for them. So far, we have been very fortunate in spotting quite a few animals out and about, and I already see that there is an African elephant coming up on our right-hand side. African elephants are pretty easy to identify because of their ear shape. Their ears are kind of in the shape of the continent of Africa. As we get closer, you'll also notice that there's some lines on the ears. Those are veins. Please get back inside of the truck, please, guys, at all times. And when they wave their ears back and forth, they are going to be able to cool down up to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Also up on our left-hand side are some mandrels. They are the largest of the monkey species. They can weigh up to 100 pounds for males and just 30 pounds for females. Hey, Brett. Now, even though elephants are so absolutely massive, they are still afraid of the sight and sound of bees. With that information, farmers out in Africa are utilizing beehive fences as a way to protect their crop fields from the trampling elephants. As soon as the elephants see or hear those bees, they send out a signal to other elephants in the area, informing them of the impending danger, and then they themselves will turn around and head a completely different direction, allowing for the farmers to protect and sell their crops and even be able to harvest and sell the honey made by the bees. The reason that is good is because honey is a highly sought after item out in Africa, so it's a very good chance for those farmers to be able to earn back some revenue that they may have lost in other tramplings that they have experienced. Elephants love eating red clay. It's delicious, it's nutritious. It helps to fill some of those vitamin deficiencies in their daily diet. I do see some fresh test marks there on our right hand side, which could be indicative of more elephant in the area. So keep those eyes open, folks. Now, elephants are also a matriarchal society, which if you don't know what that means, it means that they are led by female. But they take it one step further than that. They actually are going to travel as an all-female herd. And the eldest female in that herd will always be in charge. Even if there happens to be a male in her herd, she will always outrank him. With great power, of course, comes great responsibility, so she decides everything for her herd, including where they're going to travel to, how they're going to get there, and even when that journey will take place. The when is super important because of those long and harsh drives that we've been talking about. Fortunately for elephants, though, they have amazing memories. So they're going to be able to remember every single drop that they've ever seen and piece together a drop pattern with that memory. Sounds like there is a bit of an animal stop up ahead, my friends, which is why we've been traveling pretty slowly for a little bit and why we are completely stopped now. It does look like we may be back on the move slightly, so just hang in with us, guys. There's nowhere else for us to go but forward. Now, the only downfall for the elephants is that the world is changing every single day, so it's very possible for them to start off in the wet and end up in the dry season. But not to worry, both male and female elephants grow tusks, which are very useful for digging into the baobab trees. The baobab tree. The baobab tree is able to completely heal itself back up so that it can further preserve the water inside for future animals. And if you look closely to the baobab tree on our right hand side, it does look like it's been punctured quite a few times by some elephants in the area. And we are getting a closer look at the Ankole cattle horns that are on our right hand side. There are some Ankole cattle attached to them, but right now they're laying down so perfectly that we can't really see them. Now we've also come up on some greater flamingo here on our left-hand side. They are the largest and the lightest pink flamingos in the entire world. It looks like it's resting time for quite a few of them as well, as most of them are standing on one leg at a time or simply laying down. But standing on one leg at a time is an energy-saving technique that humans use as well. And notice whenever you are standing for a long period of time, you begin to shift your weight from one leg to another. It's the same technique. The only difference is they hide that extra leg up in their feathers as an added layer of defense. Now, their legs are also meant to mimic the look of reeds growing in the shallow parts of the river. So when they're standing along the edge of the river, stand on just one leg at a time, it is a good way to protect themselves. They just look like another piece of vegetation. Now it does look like there are some white rhino here on our left-hand side. They are absolutely beautiful, but also absolutely massive. They can weigh up to 5,000 pounds, which is equivalent to 2.5 tons. That weight does not stop them though. They can still charge up to about 35 miles an hour. The only downfall of that being that they have terrible eyesight, so they do have a bad habit of running into each other at that speed, which is how a group of rhinoceros became known as a crash. They also have an interesting history of their name, as their name comes from the Afrikaans word white, which is spelled V-Y-T-E. Someone somewhere assumed that it translated to the color white, when it does not. Apparently it translates to the word wide, in reference to their wide and flat upper lip. Now with that upper lip shape, it means that they are very, very good at snacking on grass. However, also because of that shape, it means basically the only thing they can eat is grass, which is why they are a very nomadic animal and will be moving multiple times a year so that they can be in the best areas that are actively growing good grass. Now I did just see some cheetah movement up ahead, so keep those eyes open, guys. I see it looks like one is laying down on the top of the hill, and I saw another one moving around. Cheetahs are notoriously difficult to spot during the day because they are daytime hunters. Their pattern is meant to match the look of the sun filtering through the trees. And they're also the fastest land animal, traveling up to 70 miles an hour. They'll reach that speed in just a couple of seconds, but they can only hold it for a couple hundred yards. At that speed, they will be able to use their tails to help them change direction, just like a rudder would help out on a boat. Large formation of rock coming up here on our left-hand side. It is called a Kopi rock, and it is elevated above the rest of the savanna, which is why lions enjoy living up there. It gives them a really good vantage point. However, it's also important to note that lions are nocturnal, meaning they're most active at night. During the day, they usually rest anywhere from 16 to 20 hours, which to us sounds pretty amazing, but for them it is crucial. They're saving that energy for their hunt later that night. Now when it comes to hunting for the lion, it's actually the lioness that go out looking for the food. Sit down please, princess. Thank you. The male lion stays behind on the Kopi to protect his young. Now looks like we're seeing the entire pride laying down there on our left-hand side, as it is 2 females and 1 male. And that male is pretty easy to identify because of his mane. Over on our right-hand side, I see a water buck as well as some ostrich. Now, ostriches are actually specifically female ostrich, and we can tell because of their feather color, as they are a lighter gray. Ostrich are the largest bird, but surprisingly also flightless. Instead, they will run anywhere up to 40 miles an hour. some warthog moving around there on our left-hand side. I love the warthog. I think they're super cool. Warthogs actually get their name from the warts that they grow on their face. Males will grow 4 warts, females will grow 2. And so you can look at them and identify who is who. On top of that, they create their own burrows using rounded tusks and flat snouts. All working together, it kind of forms its own shovel. We're about to get a closer look at the water bug here on our right-hand side. It's hiding away in the tall grasses. They are my personal favorite animals because when they look straight on at you, their noses are kind of in the shape of a heart. They even have a little white target on their cute little patooties. If you see the white antelope all the way in the back there as well, those are called scimitar horned oryx. They are desert dwellers and can go up to 9 months without having a single drop of water. And yes, we did also just pass some ostrich eggs. They are pretty resilient as they can support the weight of a fully grown adult man. But we have seen a lot of animals out here today, folks, and I've told you guys a lot of information about them. So if you have any questions for me, if you want me to reiterate anything that I've said, or if you have extra facts to share with me, whether it be about these animals or your personal animals back home, come on up to the front of the truck once you disembarked, and I'd be happy to chat with any of you guys. But right now, we are beginning our journeys back home to the Harambe village, where I first picked you up. On our way back, we are stopping by the warden's post to check in on them, see how they're doing. This particular post is very close to the edge of the reserve as well as to the village. So they've been farming Nigerian dwarf goats to provide villagers with a high-protein dairy product as well as a good quality meat source so that they don't go out and hunt the wildlife. I do see a couple of them hiding away there on our left-hand side near the truck. They are pretty small. This is actually as big as they will get. And with that size, there can be quite a few of them in one little area. However, they also are herd animals, so they do like having their buddies nearby too. Now, if any of you guys are looking to help out nature in your own backyards, please don't go and get your own herd of goats unless you've done a lot of research on them and you know just how needy they can be. But I do encourage you to look at different non-livestock options, such as getting a plant that's conducive to feeding the butterflies and helping bees pollinate. And you can always look into getting bird feeders with special bird seed for the birds in your area. On top of that, it is migration season again, so those birds are going to be looking for a way to get back home. During that time, they are going to be looking for safe places to stay, so now is also a very good time to provide bird houses in your area. Sadly though, folks, this is the end of our safari of nature together, and I do really hope that you all enjoyed seeing the animals out there. There are so many more out animal kingdoms for you to go explore with. Just keep in mind that a lot of the animals you're seeing today are endangered, meaning that you have the chance to help from home. Simply by recycling your papers and plastics, using reusable bags whenever you go shopping, and reusable straws whenever you go out to eat. If you are already doing any of that, that's amazing. I hope you continue to do so for many more years to come. But I also encourage you guys to look up some of these animals from home. See if you can't add some of that conservation to your daily routine.